Hi, welcome back to It's a Miracle Beauty. As you can see from the title and the thumbnail, I am reviewing the Rare Beauty foundation and concealer. I did receive these from a friend. They did not work for her, so I am trying them. This is full transparency, not my first time wearing it, second, third, or fourth. This is my fifth time wearing it, third time filming. First time had sound issues. Second time, my lights are messed up for rearranging my background. And then the last time, it didn't turn out good enough that I really felt comfortable posting it. So I am trying it today. I ran into many of the same issues that I ran into with the other tries. It's just a foundation that I feel like probably isn't for me, but I'm going to go into reasons why and why it may work for you depending on your skin type and why it may not work for you. So if you like foundation reviews, make sure you give this video a thumbs up, and let's get started with my personal review of Rare Beauty by Selena Gomez. So as you saw from the intro, we are reviewing the Selena Gomez Rare Beauty. I do have the foundation and the concealer. I did receive these from a friend who did not find success with this. Let's get moving into this. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to prime with the Vitamin Glow by Smashbox. This is my favorite primer right now. Like, of all primers I own, this is my favorite. This is one that plumps the skin and just makes it feel really just moisturized and gives it a nice base. Previously when I did this, I tried my Becca primer. I tried Charlotte Tilbury, two different ones by her. So again, that was the Vitamin Glow by Smashbox. It is their newest primer, I believe, and it's amazing. It's not silicone-y or anything like that. I just feel moisturized and plumped. So I am going to go in with just a little bit of the e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer. I have about a big hole in mine, and what I do is I just take an amount about like that and I put it on the back of my hand and kind of work it and get it warmed up, and then I put it only where I need it, where I want to smooth the pores or smooth texture, right in this area, and then in between my eyes. That little forehead bridge right there is my worst places. So I do just want to let those sit for just a minute. My eye look is from the Pan Those Miraculous palettes for week 3, and I am doing the Wired palette by Urban Decay. This will be up on Tuesday at 4 p.m. and it does look like that. So the first thing I will note about this is I do think that the components, I think it looks really pretty. I think it's very classic. So it is called the Liquid Touch Weightless Foundation. And I'm just going to go through a few of the claims. I'm not going to read everything it has, but it's weightless, a weightless foundation with concentrated pigments that feels barely there while providing buildable medium to full coverage with a natural finish. This is a foundation that is a very liquidy, serum-y foundation. If you listen, it does have the shaker balls within it. You do need to shake it up really, really well. If you do not, it will be separated and not have the same consistency as if you did shake it. The first time I wore it, I did not shake it good enough, I could tell. The other thing I do want to note, I don't mind foundations having a doe foot. That doesn't bother me because they are just used by me. However, if you can see in there, it's very messy in there, and the foundation does pool there. And if you tilt it just a little bit, it does literally pour out if you were to tip it. So it doesn't have that whole suction-y base like that some doe foots have. It's very open and free-flowing between them. So I am just going to put a little bit of this all over my face first, and then we can add more if we need to. I do prefer to do my foundation reviews with my hair up. I just have to mess with it less. If you ever notice in my videos, I tend to move my hair out of my way constantly throughout the video, and that helps me just not have to mess with it, and it's out of my way why I do my foundation review. So this is, I believe this is an e.l.f. sponge if I'm not mistaken. If you go in with too much, I mean, like even just a pinch too much, it will just sit on top of the skin, and it makes it very hard to work with. It makes powders react to it, and that's the thing I noticed with the other ones is that I went in with a very heavy layered right out the door and right out the gate, and I dealt with issues with it blending good, and I also dealt with issues with it sitting on top of my skin. Like even right now, I feel like it is at least somewhat sitting on top of my skin, but it's nothing like when I use too much. So I am going to let this layer soak in and kind of settle before I add any more. I do feel it layers pretty well. Like it doesn't have problems as far as them looking cakey or anything like that. So that is the first coat. So I am going to add just in selected areas some more. I don't want to go crazy. I don't need a ton. It is a pretty decent amount of coverage. I mean, even now it's you know, evening out my skin tone. It's definitely not covering my moles or my freckles or anything like that, but it is evening out my skin tone. And that's my biggest thing. I don't mind having a mild or low to medium coverage as long as it looks good on the skin. I did that on purpose. You can see you can't swipe this foundation. You do need to only pat it. If you swipe, it will swipe the foundation right off your face. And then you will have trouble rebuilding the coverage. I learned that when I did it previously. I was actually filming this the first time when I had no sound. And one of the things I noticed is that if you did any swiping motions, it does remove the foundation. And I am just replacing that foundation that my sponge soaked up and wouldn't give back. So again, I'm going to let this sit before I do my concealer. I did find that giving each layer a time to sit and kind of absorb definitely helped the foundation with its results. It helps the foundations with its performance, and then also its staying time. So I'm just going to let this sit for a minute and then we'll continue with the concealer. Okay, so it's probably only been about 5 minutes, but I'm already noticing certain areas they're not drying down, but they're drying down enough I feel like I can continue. The concealer does not say to shake it first, but I did, every time I've used it, I did just to be safe. So one of the things I'm already noticing, and this is what I had a problem with before, is it's sinking into my smile lines, which isn't something unheard of, especially before it's set with powder, but it's literally making crevices and cracks. So I'm going to try to pat those out, and I will do it again before I powder. I'm also losing coverage on my nose. I was hoping that the e.l.f. Putty Primer would help with those smile lines, but it looks like it is not. So I am just tapping out my under eye. I'm going to try one more layer. I'm going to put some on my nose and then on my under eye. It's like picking up the foundation and concealer, and my sponge is damp. It shouldn't be feasibly doing that. So I'm going to try to get it to a point that I can powder. I think it's at best a medium, and really it's doubtful. For me, it's even a medium. Most full coverage, like thinking in my head, Shape Tape, Hourglass, concealers like that, most of them easily cover up my dark circles. I color correct every day for my own self-confidence, but typically, like when I'm using my Hourglass, I do not need to color correct. Everything is covered. Not only is this not covering everything, but it is giving me issues. I'm actually going to zoom in for just a minute. So it's already creasing really bad. Like this is not even like my normal eye creasing when I have a concealer. And then it's pulling foundation up. And then if you look at my smile lines, they're like crevices. So again, I'm going to try to pat these out before I powder. However, I mean, that is not pretty to me. This is a foundation that I really do feel is geared towards younger gals. Being 42, it's not unheard of for this not to work for me, but it's just crazy to me that I have to do this much work to get this to work. Like it's coming off my nose. So I'm going to zoom you back out. I just wanted to kind of see what I'm dealing with. For powder, I am going to go in with my Too Faced. This is the ethereal powder. Start to say ethereal. Ethereal powder. I may kind of go over a little bit too with my Too Faced powder foundation, because I do find that one does give me a little bit of coverage when I need it. I've had serious issues with this every single time I've used it. So I'm going to zoom you back out as I finish the rest of my makeup, and we will continue. So I am going to put just a touch of that Too Faced powder foundation on my nose. This gives a little bit of added coverage so I don't feel self-conscious about my nose, because the coverage just won't stay there. It doesn't, completely wipe away any sign that there's an issue, but it does just kind of smooth it over and help it sit. So I'm going in with the Charlotte Tilbury Bronze and Glow. I'm actually going to use this almost like a contour today. I do have a bronzer I'm going to throw on as well. My brush is actually brushing away foundation as I'm doing this. And this is, again, what I ran into the other day. No matter what brush I chose, I was running into foundation that was literally blowing away. As if it was a powder foundation, I powdered too much or something. For it to be set by a powder and have been liquid on my face, it's just an odd experience for me. Not one I've experienced a lot. See, that bronzer was the Bronzing Act by Pure. And next I'm going into NARS, and this is the Original Orgasm. This is the Nabla in Amnesia. Okay, I am going to go finish my eyes and everything, and then I will come back and we can talk about a summary of my experiences, a summary of what I've noticed, what happened today, and kind of go over everything about this Rare Beauty foundation, and we will talk in just a minute. Okay, this is my final look. Again, this look is from the Pan Those Miraculous Palettes collab, September Lippy Change with Samantha Pans, Cheyenne 24, and Red Dirt and Stardust. We are doing that collab every single Tuesday at 4 p.m. We do post our videos. So this is the final look. I'm running into many of the same issues I ran into previously, although I will say not quite as bad. So if we look at my smile lines, since I did fix them that last time, they're still there. I'm gonna pat them out a little bit. They're still there, but they're not as pronounced as they were, so that is beautiful for me. My nose still has lost a ton of color and coverage. I did try to put extra highlight to kind of cover that up. I do find that kind of reflects lightness where it's not as noticeable. As you saw, I did lose coverage when I did my bronzer and blush and stuff. So for me, this is a foundation that just is a big no for me. First of all, I think it's made for people who have really good skin, who don't need to set their powder, or set with powder, don't need to seal in at all. I feel like if you're doing all cream products, if you're, you know, really melding in together, I think one, that would be what this foundation would do best as. I also think if you're using a finishing powder, which is what I try to really use my setting powder as a finishing powder day, I feel like it does better. If you heavily powder, if you bake, if you do any of those things, I do feel like it's just not going to work that well. The other thing I want to comment on is it's really common for serum foundations, which this has the consistency of a serum foundation, to not really cover a lot. They're kind of lighter, medium coverage. Typically, I don't honestly mind. In the description, it calls it medium coverage. And that's something I think is really important to note, is that they're not claiming it's full coverage, but I don't really call this even medium coverage. There's really not much coverage here. I would definitely call this a light at best. So the concealer, they say medium to full, that lasts with a brightening skin with a radiant finish. I didn't even get medium out of this. I put 2 different layers and really even a little bit of a third because I did carry some over, and I couldn't even get medium out of this. So if you are under 30, if you have really good skin, if you don't need to build up much, I think that these could work for you. For me, both of these state that they're medium coverage, but they could build to medium full. I don't feel that's possible. I feel like I really got the best I could get, especially my forehead is the best representation of the foundation without any issues. It reacts, I've now tried 5 powders and it's reacted to 5 powders. So it's kind of one of those things I really feel like it's not meant to be powdered, and if you can't powder it and it doesn't set, then you're looking at shifting foundation, you're looking at moving foundation, because I let it set for a while each time I did this and it never did finish and set. And as far as the under eye, I personally do need full coverage, or I need to use a color corrector. I am going to try this with a color corrector, but I do feel like it's just not the concealer for me. I didn't really love the finish. I didn't love the way it made my under eyes look. Now, they don't look terrible by any stretch of the word. They don't look bad. But on the same point, I want them to look good. I don't want them to look okay or livable. I want to try to make my eyes look really good. So that is my review of the Rare Beauty by Selena Gomez. I don't believe it's a horrible product. I don't believe it's, oh, you should skip it. If you like to set your face with powder, or if you do have imperfections you prefer to hide, or you want to cover up, I do think it's probably another foundation could possibly fit it better for your needs. So that is my review. And if you want to comment down below, are you trying this out? Are you picking it up? Is it something you're interested in, or is it a big pass? Like, what is your views on it? If you like foundation reviews, make sure you like, share, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications so you are notified every single time I upload. And I hope I see you again soon.